Today I'm here with Jeffrey Siegel of Siegel Motor Car Company as we prepare for the Amelia Island auctions coming up in March of 2015. Today we're going to be discussing the 1977 Ferrari GTB Vetroresina Coupe, which Jeffrey has an incredible story to tell us about. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thanks for having me.
First off, I'd like to introduce you to the audience. If you'd like to just tell them a little bit about yourself. So this is Jeffrey Siegel of Siegel Motor Car, the president and CEO of the company. And if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you guys do here at Siegel Motor Car.
Okay, well, basically Siegel Motor Car is a company that's existed now for over 30 years. We've grown from a small regional company to a national company to now focusing on international branding of very special motor cars.
And what about this car specifically drew you to its original purchase?
Well, interesting story. So, first of all, I was looking for a very special 308 car that had both unique qualities to it and had a really strong history, pedigree, and provenance behind it. In November of 2000, I was able to locate this car locally in Toronto, and what attracted me to the car was, first, it was a Vetroresina car, which is one of 712 that were ever built in the world, one of 100 cars ever built as a wet sump North American spec car, and this particular car being one of 6 cars ever built for Canadian production.
So this is a true Canadian VIN Ferrari 308 GTB Vetroresina Coupe.
Yes, and past that, really the easiest way to understand what a Canadian or North American spec car is, of the 712 cars, all 100 cars that are wet sump cars built are North American spec. Of those 100, there were only 6 cars ever built for Canada.
So independent of those details, what is it about this specific vehicle that turns your gears or gets you excited per se?
Well, that was easy. So what I did was, before I purchased the car, I was able to track all the history of the previous owners. The greatest thing about the car was, it was complete. Everything was there. When I bought it, it was original paint to the car. It was a Canadian Luigi sports car delivered car, which is the Ferrari dealer here in Montreal, Canada at that time. From there, it came to Toronto within a year of ownership, stayed with the second owner, Larry Litovsky, again, a really well-renowned guy here locally and a collector and enthusiast. He had the car for several years. The third owner, which ultimately became a customer of ours, Vic Sheldrick, real Ferrari guy, loves cars, services beautifully. The fourth owner, Mario Paravana, which ultimately we purchased the car from, had the car for 1 year.
How many of the 712 vehicles would you say are continuing their lives on the road today?
Well, a great number. So the great thing about Vetroresina cars in particular is these particular models have always been sought after models. Rarely does one come to market. They've all gone, no, not all, a good amount of them have gone into very significant collections. And the great thing about the 308 car in a Vetroresina car is it's a very usable, drivable car to this day. I would say virtually all.
Of the 712, that should, as you said, still be on the road based on the quality and pedigree of the vehicle as it was built, how many do you think match the quality of your vehicle?
Wow, well that's pretty easy. So I've actually kept very good track of these cars in certainly our period of caretakership, custodianship, which is over 14 years. And I'm going to tell you, in that period of time, probably only about 20 cars have even changed hands that have reached the open market. In that, I'm certain that there are 1 or 2 or 3 cars that privately changed hands that never even hit the market. In the last 10 years, without a doubt, this is the most documented, perfect pedigree, completely stock, best presented Vetroresina car to come to market.
Let's speak to the documentation for a moment, if you will. Discuss the originality of the vehicle and the process in which it went through during restoration to bring it back to form.
Really easy, and that was a big part of, again, why we purchased this particular car to begin with. When I viewed the car in November of 2000, I was able to see it inside of a warehouse in a protected environment. At that point in time, the car had its original paint still. It was still dressed exactly the way it was delivered new. It had its original interior, it was completely stock. I opened the back, saw every tool, the tool roll, the original jack, all the ancillary items that came with the original jack. Nothing was missing. I then was able to locate in the car the entire documented history from the car, including invoices, all locally for the vehicle from Ferrari and before the Ferrari dealer, Rainbow Ferrari Automobiles, who ultimately became the Ferrari distributor for Canada. History perfect. All the books, all the manuals, original delivery stamp. There was nothing missing. There was no way I was leaving without that car that day.
Discussing why you've decided to take this vehicle to Gooding & Company in Amelia Island, is there anything specific about that auction house that drew you and this vehicle to it?
Well, I actually think that Gooding & Company has had a wonderful reputation for presenting what I call top-tier vehicles in a market setting, of a boutique setting, where a very small number of vehicles are sold in a one-day auction, approximately, in this case, 84 cars in a day, each hand-selected, gone through their rigorous system of making sure that everything is exactly the way it's discussed, presented properly, and ultimately provided in a worldwide setting.
Now, for the 1977 Ferrari Vetroresina, there's been a number of worldwide publications that have picked up the vehicle in advertising. Can you discuss the global push that you're making for this vehicle in trying to find it a new home? And also, where ideally you would see the car finding its final resting place?
Well, we've had interest. We personally have publicized the car well. It's been in several publications, both Ferrari Market Letter, internet through Ferrari Market Letter through the world. With that, also Hemmings Motor News goes throughout the world, both online and hard copy. With that, we actually had the privilege and pleasure of being featured in a new magazine that's just come out here in a two-page article specifically about this actual car, not just the model and its history, because it is so spectacular. And the results have been well in excess of even what we had anticipated. We have had people calling from Dubai, from Monaco, France, Belgium, the United States, Canada. It seems to be physically going to the Gooding sale in Amelia Island March 13th. But in all fairness, this car is being heard and spoken about all over the world, including Ferrari chats.
What do you expect the final sale price to be once the gavel comes down on March 13th of 2015 this year?
Difficult to say. There have been 3 recent sales in the past 4 months for Vetroresina cars. One, what I call a tough driver, really not a wonderful car. Second, being quite a nice driver, but with very little history. The third, being quite a well-presented car, I'm told. I didn't see it. But in saying that, again, very little history, no original books, no tools. The beauty of this car, aside from the physical vehicle itself, is the pedigree, provenance. It's stayed in Canada all of its life. It hasn't traveled the world. Everybody who has owned it, the 4 previous owners only, next to me, being the 5th, have had it for good periods of time. All caring custodians. Nothing has hit the market. Nothing has been presented like this car, and none of which are the level of product this is.
If you could say something to the upcoming custodian of the vehicle, what would you say?
I'd say that in our viewpoint, this is a car that we've cared for and loved for 14 plus years. It's a car that was really not purchased for the sale of it ultimately in the coming week. And with that, they're going to have not only the best well-documented car available, but they're also going to have a drivable, user-friendly, enjoyable vehicle that was meant to be driven, which is why ultimately we're selling it now, because we've used it simply as a piece of art to be displayed at our location for the past 14 years.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for your time. I appreciate it. Good luck at the sale.
Thank you.